Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Big Blue Drew 97 coming at you with another manga review for My Hero Academia Vigilantes manga chapter 86 titled Masked Fighting Tournament. So, yeah, with that name of the chapter, you kind of get an idea of what this chapter is going to be about. Actually, you don't, because I didn't expect it until I actually got into it. So, I will say this: when it comes to this chapter, it's going to be a flashback chapter, and this was something that I personally did not see coming. But you know what? It kind of makes sense because we are going into most likely what's going to be the final arc, and this flashback touches upon a character that we really haven't seen in a while or really heard anything about, nor do we know really anything about their background. And when it comes to the person I'm referring to, well, I'll get into that when I get into review. And before we even get into it, I'd like to ask y'all to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Big Blue Drew 97, as well as leave a comment down below and leave a like. And I have a question to ask: is what you think of this chapter, or what do you think is going to happen in this chapter based off what I said? And with that, let's get right into the review. So we actually start off this chapter with Detective Kitty asking Tomuma about where Detective Tsukachi or Namasa is, and he's apparently visiting the hospital of Popstep. So we get a cameo of our little boys, Rapt, Soga, and Moiru, as they are still being the quote-unquote security check for people coming in, and you have Tomuma, who's like apparently asked the kitty detective, whose name is actually Sansa, and apparently Tanuma asked Sansa, the kitty detective, about a former case that he was digging into, as well as like some information on like a particular part of the hospital. And apparently what the detective kitty finds out is that apparently that part of the hospital was built by a specific donor under the name of Kurawa Takeshi, and apparently like he is a part of multiple different organizations and a lot of nonprofits, and he doesn't have his public info out into the open. But here's the fun part about this, is that you have Detective Anuma, who's just smiling, thinking to himself like, alright, I get it, those are like the really weird types. And apparently Detective Tanuma also asked about a previous case that he worked on beforehand, and how he has information now, and he begins to pull out a picture, and the picture is of O'Clock, as we get into the official title of this chapter. And something that I want to mention is that when it comes to Tanuma, he was smiling when he heard the name of Takeshi Kuraiwa, is because that is an alias of O'Clock, or as we know him as, Knuckleduster. So from here, we actually get into a flashback that involves Knuckleduster being involved in a certain incident that happened 7 years ago. And from here, this is where the flashback truly begins, where we see these two individuals. One name is Trunkly versus Master Beast, as we get a basic dialogue dump of an announcer basically telling everyone like, oh, welcome everybody, everyone wearing their masks. This time it's like actual like masks, as in not the masks that cover your face, which you know you probably should be wearing now, but masks that you would wear in a masquerade. So the announcer is telling everyone to wear their masquerade spots because they're in a land of dreams where you can use deadly moves, brutal weapons, even your quirk, as you are all in the underground masquerade. So basically, we start this flashback in a fight club. Also, you know, tying into the title of this chapter, it is a Warriors tournament. And basically what this tournament is just individuals that want to join. Their amateurs who decide to fight each other with any means, either for fame, for glory, or for money. And you have most likely people betting on who's going to win, who's going to lose, or just you have people who just enjoy fighting each other, which, you know, is most likely very legal. in both our world and the My Hero Academia world, but they don't care. This is something that they're enjoying, and we cut into the middle of this fight between Drunk Lee and Master Beast as Drunk Lee gets cut across the chest, and it looks like he's down for the count, but he drinks what is most likely alcohol, uses his fire breath, and takes out Master Beast as Drunk Lee is declared the winner, as he also passes out. And this just shows that even though he wins, like, the damage that they're taking is real. People are getting hurt. And this masquerade is even being live streamed, people. So this goes beyond the scope of just this singular building. If it's being live streamed, it could be literally anyone in Japan or anyone in the world seeing this. So this just opens the world up and shows how grand this scene is. And what makes it even better is that we cut over to the outside of the building, where we discover is that it's just a parking lot. And you have people talking over this about how it's just a parking lot in the shopping district, and how it's just this urban landscape, and how this is very illegal, but it doesn't really matter. People are watching it. And this is where we cut over to a younger Tanuma, as he's looking through his binoculars, as he's talking to a particular individual, and how he talks about how anyone can enter this masquerade. It's free, but he also talks about how that is like the most expensive thing is free, which makes sense, because just because something is free doesn't mean that it doesn't have a cost to it. And the reason why it's most expensive is because you don't know what that cost is. So that's kind of what he is most likely inferring for. But what is cool about this scene is that the person that he's talking about how, oh yeah, you're infiltrating this place. We got like people stationed everywhere around here. But you know, just because it's live streamed, this is just like a small thing. Like, just taking this out isn't going to take out like the masquerade fighting scene. And the person, and this, he's telling this to the person, but the person was responding to was like, oh yeah, I understand that, but you know, I've been tracking down this drug, quirk boosting drug, and I feel as if I were to go into here, I'll be able to get a scoop on it and hopefully stop it. So you have this individual who's looking for evidence on a quirk boosting drug in this basic fight club, and it's making you wonder, who could this possibly be? Who in the story of My Hero Academia Vigilantes is so obsessed with this quirk boosting drug that they would join a fight club and is crazy enough to do it? I don't have to tell you, it's O'Clock, also known as Knuckleduster, before, you know, he lost his quirk, which shows that at least 7 years ago he still had his quirk. And then you have Tanuma, who is talking to O'Clock about the backup, as well as how O'Clock has this 5 o'clock shadow on him. Like, what's up with the 5 o'clock shadow? Which O'Clock responds very coy-like. It's like, oh, I have to look the part, don't I? As Tanuma's like, oh, what part? As O'Clock uses his quirk to get away, as Tanuma basically confirms with the other police people how, like, when the signal comes, that they'll be able to provide backup to him. So, weirdly enough, from this moment that we see O'Clock, we cut over to this other person who is entering the ring for the next match, and how the announcer is talking about how he uses a dagger, and how he hasn't lost 5 straight rounds, and how this is going to be an amazing fight with the next individual, the Ripper. And then we have the announcer also calling out his opponent, who is described in probably the best way ever, which is like, if he meets God, he'll punch him. If he meets the Buddha, he'll punch him. If he meets you, well, you know what he's gonna do. He has 20 wins and no losses. He's the Rapper. I'm gonna be honest, the name is really weird, but the name just gives away who this is. It's Rappa. Oh yeah, I just realized. Rapper. But yeah, we get to see Rappa in this chapter. A very young looking Rappa. Like, he's not fully built like a shit brick house as he is in My Hero Academia, but this just means that this is when he's coming into his own. more and more. And even in reality, this rapper is pretty much the same as the rapper that we see in the main story when it comes to his personality. And a funny thing that we have between Rappa and Ripper is that Rappa is basically talking about how, whoa, this guy is stealing my stick. I mean, come on, really? Rapper, Ripper? It's gonna be so confusing. So, there's a funny moment right there. Beyond that, this version of Rappa is pretty much on point with the Rappa that we know in the main story. Because he's looking at this individual who, gosh, he reminds me of someone. Oh, I can't really put a name to it, but I'm just going to call him Ripper. So Rappa is talking to Ripper and is thinking about how it's not really a fair fight with Ripper using a knife. It is like, yo, this is just my style. This is what I do. And Rappa's like, come on, I want to go with a full-out bloody fight to the death. And with that knife, that's not really a real fight. I can't really knock you down like that, can I? As you have Ripper responding is, well, how about we do this? If I land a lethal blow on you, or you land a lethal blow on me, then that's the match. And Rapper's like, no, that's not gonna work. And Ripper's like, okay, so then you're not gonna fight me then? And Rapper's like, oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm still gonna fight you. It's just gonna feel weird. So, there's just this funny interaction showing that Rappa is in the past is still the same Rappa as he is in the future. He wants a good fight and wants it to be, like, fair in the way of, like, just two men duking it out, fist to fist, hand to hand. And even though he thinks like that, he's still not gonna turn down a fight against someone that's using a knife. So he says this. The round begins. Rappa uses his quirk to basically land multiple blows onto Ripper. And he's thinking that he's like defeating him because he's like, alright, you're dead meat then. Punch. Ripper gets thrown into the cage. The announcer begins to announce, oh, is it already over? Is Ripper already down? But no, Ripper is not down. He gets back up. He talks about how he got his soft spot and how the announcer's like, oh my gosh, he's not dead. And he's like, all right, but guess what? I'm not going to admit defeat right now. So come on, let's keep going. And he's like, I'm not that type of nice guy to play. He said, you know what? I'm going to even be a nice guy. You know what? I'll play by your rules now. As the announcer begins like, oh my gosh, the gauntlet is thrown. Everything is, oh gosh, this is all crazy. As we see Rappa smile. Because he's like, oh, I like you. All right, it's time to fight you. Open your arms to death as the chapter ends with Rapper about to punch Ripper. And if you haven't realized it now, and I've known from the very beginning since we saw Ripper, yeah, it's Knuckleduster. And most likely what is about to happen is that Rappa is going to get just destroyed by Knuckleduster with multiple hits to his chest, continuing with this flashback of Knuckleduster, Ripper, taking down this organization, finding most likely some evidence of the quirk boosting drug, but not enough to really convict someone or to get a new league, as we continue down Knuckleduster's flashback backstory. And all in all, I'm actually really excited for this. I did not see this coming, but I am open to it. Learning more about Knuckleduster, learning more about his past. Most likely we're going to see his interactions with his family, his daughter, and how their relationship was in the past. We're going to see him in his prime. We're going to see how he used his quirk, and we'll be able to compare it to how number 6 uses his quirk, which, weird to say, as well as we're just going to get more understanding of how Knuckleduster became who he is and how he became this jaded person. Because an interesting tidbit of information that we saw in this chapter is that we know for a fact that Knuckleduster smokes in the current timeline of My Hero Academia Vigilantes, even though we don't know if he's alive or dead, but we know that he smokes. But in this chapter, we see that he's offered a cigarette and he refuses it, showing that there is a change that happens that we're most likely going to see, which is most likely when he gets his quirk stolen, where he's going to change. And I cannot wait to see that moment in action. Because like I said, the more we get to see of Knuckleduster's backstory, the happier that I will be, because frankly, he's pretty much one of my favorite characters in this story, My Hero Academia Vigilantes. So I can't wait to see it, and hopefully you can't wait to see it either. Oh, overall, I thought this was a really good chapter. I'm very interested in seeing where this flashback will go, as well as I enjoyed just seeing more of Knuckleduster's personality, as well as getting this cameo from Rappa is just always a cool treat, because this is really what we read Vigilantes for, not just for the storytelling, but also for like the greater interweaving storylines and world building of just My Hero Academia in general. Like I said, really good chapter, really enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed this chapter. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. Give a like to this video if you liked what I said about it. Leave a comment down below on what you think is going to happen next chapter. Subscribe to my channel, Big Blue 97. Do all of that cool jazz. And I will catch you in the next video. Goodbye for now.